Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Triangle BNI. My name is Mike Manning. We give you wonderful success stories each week from Triangle BNI. And if you are not familiar with BNI, it is the world's largest networking organization in the Triangle area. If you're not familiar with Central North Carolina, Triangle area is Raleigh, Durham, and Chapel Hill. Have almost 30 chapters, almost 700 members, and each week we bring you a story of how somebody has used BNI to grow their business. Our guest this week is Ricci Treffer, the realtor with Hunter Rowe Real Estate Agents and Advisors. Ricci, we're glad to have you here today.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
So 2018 ended well for you.
It's been a really great year. Yeah, thank you.
All right. Hit your
Yeah.
goals.
Well, I fell just a little bit short. My goal was to do 10 million in real
Okay.
estate volume, and I ended the year at 9.3.
Okay. All right.
That is not bad. And,
All
I'm
right.
incredibly grateful
Good deal.
for the folks that trusted me.
And Ricky is the secretary treasurer of RD23 Raleigh Resource Group. They meet Wednesdays at 11:30 in the morning at Linwood Grill. So if you're looking for a good lunch group, you can visit there, and we'll have to send a note out to Colin and Be Rich and Karis and the
Yes,
boys to help you
please.
make up that $700,000 starting off 2019. So if you're not familiar with BNI, you can go to trianglebni.com, click on Find a Chapter. There are chapters every day of the week. There are chapters that meet in the morning, some that meet at lunch. So find a good location for you to go visit. It's seat specific, so you buy your way into it. But the beautiful thing is for people like Ricky, she is the only realtor in her chapter. So when somebody knows of someone that is looking to buy or sell a house, they call Ricky because they know you'll take great care of them. So 2018 ended well. 2019, we're a couple weeks in, seeing some good starts.
Sometimes people will say January is slow in real estate,
Yeah.
and that might be true for some. I can't say that. I've been very fortunate. People trusting me with their families and their neighbors and coworkers. So we have a number of listings happening right
Mhm.
now. Buyers out shopping for homes. So not a slow month at all. We're busy.
And a couple things in your industry that has changed. One is, I guess, I don't know, I guess the last 7 or 8 years, it used to be summertime. Nobody did anything because the kids were getting ready to get out of school in late spring, so they put their house up and do all the moving. And now it's pretty much 24/7, isn't it?
I really can't say that there's a bad time to buy a house or to sell a house.
Yeah.
It's all a matter of being right in that market and having it prepared
Mhm.
appropriately. So, really, yeah, anytime's a good time.
In technology now, are you finding more people coming to you with houses they've found, or is it still traditional? Hey, Ricky, here's the range and here's the neighborhood.
That's a great question. I think a lot of people really like some of the apps and
Mhm.
some of the online bells and whistles. It's just fun. It's fun. It's a little bit like Instagram, right? It's fun looking at homes. It's
Oh,
fun.
yeah, yeah.
It's
It's a hobby
you
for a
can
lot
get
of people.
beautiful ideas for your own home and how you might want to redecorate. But when it comes to the accuracy and someone really honing in on finding a home that they want to buy,
Yeah.
that they really want to live in, I think there's really nothing that can substitute for the quality of information that an experienced realtor can provide to really search beyond what anybody can see
Yeah.
in the MLS.
Yeah.
You need to have some creative options to really find the house. And, that's the type of service that we provide when someone is serious and not just window shopping and looking on online sources.
And are people in the industry getting better of putting, because sometimes my wife would be online and she'd be looking at something, and we knew, and tell me if this is correct, we knew if you did not show the picture of the kitchen or the master bedroom, that was not a good sign about the house. Are there reason why those pictures aren't in there?
Um, Again, I can't speak for what other people are doing in
Okay.
the industry, but I think you're right, Mike. There are certainly specific features that people want to see.
Yeah.
They want to
Oh, yeah.
have an instant feel for the home to see if they want to make the effort and take the time to actually physically go see it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's strategic pictures, and I think the kitchen and master bedroom are definitely two of the main features of a home that are important for buyers, and they
Mhm.
want to know about it.
All right, so HGTV. A lot of people watch it, a lot of people love it. We know you can't redo a house in an hour. We know that. You can't show 3 houses an hour and sell one. So, do you want as a realtor, okay, so first of all, as a realtor, Do you watch any of those shows? And how true are some of them?
Well, for one, I watch very little TV. I tend to be busy with other things.
Okay.
But I do, it's fun. It's entertaining, again, to see some ideas
Mhm.
on how people, I especially like the remodel shows because I think it's kind of like a before and after.
Yeah.
In any industry, that's always really fun to see because not everybody has that vision to see a home that's maybe in disrepair
Mhm.
or has been lived in and the style hasn't changed in 25 years and to go in and say, wow, this is amazing. So is it realistic? No. What I love about Hunter Rowe, we actually do have our in-house staging team. And one of the things that we do for our listing clients is we give them options. We give them choices
Mm.
to say, all right, if you really want to maximize your return on investment, here is some choices. Here's what we see in your home, and here are some things that will actually give you money back. We can pretty accurately forecast if you're spending this much, you'll be able to sell it for this much more. Now, not everybody is able to
Like
do
with the
that.
kitchen, new countertops or certain things.
It's really unique for each home.
Okay.
We kind of look at it as a puzzle. You need to look at the entire neighborhood and what that neighborhood is showing for buyers and
Gotcha.
sellers. Some neighborhoods, no, it will not be worth your investment to spend money on granite. You'll not be getting your money
Okay.
back. But once we know what our recommendations are, that's kind of where BNI ties in. Now I have a team of professionals at my fingertips that I can say, okay, if you're deciding as a client that you want to spend the money on A, B, and C, here are my trusted vendors. And they will make room for you on the calendar. We're not going to wait 4 weeks, 6 weeks to get this contractor into your house. We have
Yeah.
someone who's ready now and he can
Nope.
do the work. And I trust them to do quality work at a reasonable price. So
Very
that's,
nice.
it's huge for my business to
Mm.
help my clients that way.
And you've been a licensed agent since 2003. We're gonna get into
Yes.
all the cool exotic places you've sold in. So what
Yeah.
kinda changes have you seen? I mean, we're talking 15 years now. What are some of the things that jump out at you that have changed since you first came in?
There's I've not always done residential real estate. So there is some differences, of course, in the industries that I was in. But of course, we all know what happened in 2008 and 2009. So there were big adjustments for folks buying and selling homes, holding on to homes that just wouldn't have given them the value at the time that they needed. And I think that is really where, um, again, quality advice makes a big difference in serving your clients to help them make the best choices for their family and their life situation. That's our job as an advisor.
And I know that recession weeded out in the home industry. I mean, because we've had some people on previous guests on the show, been general contractor, of course, realtors. That recession weeded out a lot of people in that industry, didn't it?
Sure. Sure. Yeah. It can be tough.
So how'd you
It can be tough.
do? Where were you through that?
I was living on Maui in Hawaii
Oh,
at the
sorry to
time.
hear that.
I
Yeah.
know. Somebody had to do
No
it.
recessions in Hawaii. There have been, right?
Yeah, no. Well, we felt it there, definitely, definitely. But yeah, there's some markets that probably, you know, made
Yeah.
it a little easier through that time.
All right, so
Yeah.
let's go ahead and get to that. So you bring a couple things here to the show, and we have had all kinds of fun and interesting guests on the show. So the first thing is that makes you different than any other guest is you were born and raised in Germany.
Yes,
All
sir.
right, give us the lineage to that.
Okay. So, my family's German. A lot of people assume when I say, I'm from Germany, I lived in Hawaii and I lived in California, a lot of people will ask if I had military
Oh yeah,
background, and I
yeah.
didn't.
Okay.
Although all those areas, of course, have huge military
Mhm.
representation for the United States. But no, grew up in Germany and came from a family of travelers.
Okay.
So always enjoyed seeing other countries, always had that goal. I wanted to live other places. So right out of school, I started working for an international company, for an American company. I worked for Hewlett Packard. And in the time, in the early 90s, that was almost like going to grad school. You had every opportunity with the company as far as public speaking classes, something like Toastmasters. Um, and travel opportunities. So it was a cold and rainy November day in Germany. Not a pretty time of year. Don't recommend traveling during that time. And my boss approached me and said, Ricci, what do you think about California? And I said, well, what about it? He said, would you ever want to be there? And I said, now would be a great time. So January of 97, I had the opportunity to move to Northern California. I lived in the Bay Area. HP had their headquarters right there on Page Mill Road. And of course, incredible area.
Oh,
you know, it's not something you really imagine. In many ways, I compare it to the Triangle area as far as outdoor opportunities,
Okay.
mountains, oceans, lots of different industries, kind of like we have a little bit of a mini Silicon Valley here. You know, we have a lot of IT companies. But of course, our cost of living is so much more reasonable to have the ability to own a home and to raise your family and not go broke by paying a mortgage.
And we hear great stories about how cold it can get in San Francisco on a summer day, right?
Yeah, that is true.
So at least you had the clothing for that.
Yeah, you know, there's a reason there's all those sweatshirt vendors at every corner because people are in the South Bay wearing their T-shirts and flip-flops and shorts, and then they get into San Francisco and the fog rolls in and it gets a little chilly. But yeah, it was a great place to live. I felt very fortunate. It will always have a special place in my heart. Made wonderful friends there and just really got to appreciate the United States and culture. And there was a lot of learning.
Oh, I bet, yeah.
I'll never forget the first time. And for anybody who's ever lived in a different country, it can be exhausting. Just learning the culture.
Yeah.
Aside from just learning the language, but there's so much about regional things that you just don't know. And you know, you think you're grown up and you know how to do all these things. Well, the first time you go to a grocery store, you realize, no, you don't. You don't actually know how to do any of this. You do not know how to shop for groceries. So one of the first times I'll never forget, I got to the register. And now in Germany, you don't have anybody bagging your groceries. You kind of do that yourself. So you bring your bags, you know, you fill everything in there. And so I get to the register in California at, I think it was a Safeway. And the cashier, you know, rings up all my purchases and then looks at me and says, would that be paper or plastic? And I had no idea. I did not know what she was talking about. And I, you know, rapidly, my brain is working, trying to figure out, what am I supposed to say? I don't know. So I the first thought I had is like, is she asking me how I'm going to pay? Am I paying, you know, with credit card or am I paying with cash? And then she just kind of held it up because she saw that blank, sad stare on my face. And she said, this one or this one. And I'm like, got it. She wanted to know which kind of bag I wanted for my groceries. But yeah, so there's a lot of little things. And, you know, it's funny. Those experiences really teach you that when you use industry lingo, it's terrible.
Yes.
You know, a lot of folks, we use abbreviations, something as simple. Well, we that, you know, maybe are in this market and in this industry, we hear MLS and we think everybody knows what that is.
Yeah.
And people look at you and they don't want to admit that they don't know. So, you know, I can really just encourage everybody who is in any industry that abbreviations are not helpful. Or, you know, things like paper and plastic. No, you don't know what that is.
Because it's major
French drain. Not everybody will know what that even means.
Because MLS, Major League Soccer to some people, if they're not familiar with the real estate industry. Too.
That's right. By the way, it's the multiple listing service for those of you who don't know. You now learned something. You're welcome.
So you still have family back in Germany?
Absolutely, yeah. I don't have a big family, but everybody's still there. And my son and I, we go back every other year for the holidays.
Yeah.
So we just spent our break there, and it was lovely. It was a very relaxing time.
How much fun has that been as a parent to incorporate both the German and U.S. heritage for your son? Assuming he was born in the States.
He was, he was born on Maui, and he likes, he's 10. So he does like, he likes to tell people that he was born on a volcano. You know, I try to tell him that that's technically true, but not really what people envision. There was no lava flowing around him. But, you know, yeah, it is really fun to maintain both those cultures. And, you know, we kind of get to pick and choose a little bit. We get to say, okay, we celebrate all the holidays and, you know,
that's good for a kid.
All the terrible traits that the stereotypes that people have, maybe we can overcome those a little bit and not be that typical German.
Does he speak any German?
When he wants to.
Okay. Yeah. And how often do you speak it now?
You know, there's actually quite strong German community here in the Triangle. We have a German ladies group. We have
Oh.
dinner once a month, and we only speak German. And I still have quite a few
Oh,
German
very
friends
cool.
in the area. So yeah, it really is
Huh,
fun.
very
And of course,
nice.
lots of local restaurants and breweries
Oh,
will
yeah.
jump on the Oktoberfest bandwagon. So
Yeah,
we'll always have
the
opportunity
American way,
there.
right?
Yes.
Which is how can we make money off Oktoberfest,
It's
right?
enjoyable.
Yeah.
It is fun.
And you chuckle sometimes. It's not
Yeah,
really
I listen to the music that maybe my grandparents listened to.
because we think everybody in
That's
Germany
what's being
listens to that.
played. Yeah, it's fun. It is enjoyable.
All right, so Ricci is a member of RD23. She's secretary treasurer, Riley Resource Group. One of the questions I love to ask people is literally, when is the first time you ever heard BNI?
Wow. So that would be probably when I moved to North Carolina, when I moved to the Triangle, that was in the fall of 2012, and I didn't have family here. I was working from home at the time and didn't have friends at all. So it was just a family decision to move here. But I'm very outgoing, and so is my child. We like to have people around us. And I started with the chamber. I was living in Carborough at the time. Shout out to all my Chapel Hill peeps. Um, and visited the chamber and just got introduced to several different networking opportunities. And I think it was probably Scotty Gardner at the time,
Oh, Scotty,
out
yeah.
of Hillsborough, who said, you ought to come and check out BNI. I think you'd like it. And so that was probably the first time, and haven't looked back since. I've made some wonderful connections across all kinds of industries and really built friendships beyond just a
Yes,
business relationship.
it is. Yeah.
So that's become a big part of my circle and my sphere here in the Triangle. It's wonderful.
And each week in a BNI chapter, there's a featured speaker. Depending on the size of your group, it could be either 5 minutes or 10 minutes. And each speaker is introduced by a member bio sheet. So, Ricci, that's how we do it here. So,
All
that's
right.
how we're going to officially introduce you for the show.
Okay.
So, Ricci Treffer, our speaker, Hunter Rowe, realtor, broker, and advisor, which we'll get to all three
Yeah.
because you need all three. Location of the office.
So we have offices in Raleigh and Durham. My home office is in Cary. So as a realtor, you're really all across the Triangle, and I work only by referral. So I go where my clients are.
Okay. And how long you been in that office?
I think it's going to be 3 years in this month,
Okay.
next month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. My second favorite question here, previous types of jobs. Now I have your after college, after you moved to the States job.
Right.
There's gotta be a good high school before I left Germany story, right?
Yeah. So I'm going to dispel some myths
Yes,
here,
please do.
if I may. So a lot of people think of Europe, and of course they think everybody has traveled everywhere because we don't work or go to school. We
Correct.
just have time to go places, which is not quite true. I wish. But my hometown of Kassel is in the northern part of Germany, and I was in high school, and there was a fast food place downtown. And now some people will cringe when I say it was a French fast food place, especially folks of French heritage will not take pride in the fact that there was a French fast food place, but there was in fact a French fast food place. And that was my first job. And, I was serving French onion soup and spinach baguettes and
And how
all
old were
kinds of
you?
things. Must have been 15 or 16 at the
What was the
time.
going wage back then?
Oh gosh. That was before the euro. So we were still being paid in Deutschmark.
Yeah.
And I say maybe $8 an hour or something like that. It
Did
wasn't.
you keep any of the
wasn't a lot.
Deutschmarks once you went to the euro? Do you have any in the
I might.
Okay.
That's a really good question. I should look for those.
So when you say fast food, now that you lived in the States for all these years, is it our kind of fast food place, or it's not like a McDonald's or a Chick-fil-A or something like that? Or is it more like Chipotle or Moe's or something like that, where it's more of a meal,
Yeah.
but you can get in and out?
I think maybe it was a mix between the two.
Okay.
It was definitely something that could be prepared very quickly.
All right.
But people would tend to sit down and eat a meal. That was a long time ago.
How long did you work there?
I think a couple summers. Yeah.
Was that your first job?
Yeah. Well, no, not really, actually. My first job, I wanted to earn a Sony Walkman. Now, I'm
with
dating
you.
myself
I'm
now,
with you on
but
those.
that was
In
my
its-
most
in its day, yes.
my most prized possession. It was silver, and that's what I wanted. And so, in our little neighborhood, there was a grocery store, and they were looking for someone to clean.
Yep.
And I know you do commercial cleaning,
Yep.
so that's not pretty.
Nope.
But yeah, that was one of my very first jobs outside of delivering subscriptions. People got the those were not
Mhm.
delivered by the mail. You actually hand delivered them to people's homes, magazine subscriptions.
Yeah.
So I had a route. I did that. But yeah, the cleaning of the supermarket is what earned me my Sony Walkman. And I had it for many, many years. I
Yeah.
love that thing.
And if you don't know, depending on your age watching the show now, if you don't know what a Sony Walkman is, Google it. You can stop laughing after
Yeah.
about the first minute, but in its day, it was the iPhone.
It
It was the
was,
absolute
yeah,
iPhone in
it
its
was
day.
pretty sweet. I had to have it.
So next section, again, why I love this show. I love this story. So next section on here is personal information. So tell us about your family.
Sure. So I have a 10-year-old son. He is my pride and joy and keeps me on my toes. We're very active. We like to be outside, ride our bikes. We love roller coasters. We go to Orlando every year and, you know, just like to travel. That is really what we want to do, as many experiences as we can fit in,
So
a
there's
10-year-old's life.
so there's two types of, oh, good. That's your phone, not mine.
I think that's
Yeah.
fine.
And going back to the traveling to Europe, Amnon's from Israel, so I'm sure he
Okay.
can commiserate a little bit on
Sure.
the perceptions of Europeans versus Americans and what we think the other one does. So so okay, roller coasters. Now there's two types of roller coaster fans. My wife and my oldest son, if it's not going backwards, upside down, or in the dark, they're just not interested.
Right.
My youngest son and I stand on the ground and wave up all the people riding roller coasters. Where do you land?
Oh, no, we ride them.
Okay.
Yes, we ride them all.
All right.
He is now tall enough that there's really no more restrictions. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Is this eventually going to be a coffee table book one day for the Treffer family of all
Oh,
the roller coasters you've ridden?
that's a really good idea. I
Okay.
do like making photo books from our trips. So
Okay.
maybe I should make one specifically for the roller
So how
coasters.
many different places have you ridden roller coasters with him?
Oh, gosh. Not too many. We tend to go back to the same place. He really is still at that age where he loves Harry Potter. So going to Universal and doing all that is something he really enjoys.
Okay.
And that's what we do.
All right. Good deal. City of residence.
I live in Cary.
Okay. All right. And you lived there how long?
So when I first moved to North Carolina, I lived in Carrboro and then moved to Cary and Morrisville area in 2014.
And what
So
got you to the Triangle?
really just family choices.
Okay.
It's a great place to live and it was great opportunities
Yeah.
for us.
Good deal.
Yeah.
All right. Your burning desire is to.
So goes back to travel. My burning desire is really to take my son to a different international country
Okay.
every year. His exposure has been fairly limited to Western countries.
Mhm.
And so I think really having appreciation of how fortunate we are
Wonderful.
living where
Yeah.
we live, having what we have. I think that's something that you can only get through travel and seeing
No, I agree.
what's
Yeah.
going on in other countries. So that's the
It
goal.
just to see how other people do it, because a lot of times we assume that, oh, well, everybody does it this way, or
Yeah.
everybody looks at things
Yeah.
the way I do. But
Yeah.
just if you go to, and my wife is an go back to the military. My wife is an Air Force brat, and
Okay.
so she actually graduated high school in Heidelberg.
Oh, yeah. My sister
And
lives right there.
okay, so they lived in Turkey back in the day, Germany, and they just loved going
Yeah.
to see how other people did things.
Yeah.
Is that your purse or my
Yeah.
purse or what? So, Amnon's not having any luck with it?
Let me grab it.
Wonderful. The key to your success is?
I had a wonderful mentor when I was doing sales for the first time. And I never thought, by the way, that I would find myself in sales. That's a whole other story. But I had a wonderful mentor
Most people don't.
with the name of Sandy Wall. He was originally from New York, and he was an incredible role model. And his motto has become my motto, and it's give to get,
Nice.
give to get.
Mm.
So, and that falls right in line, of course, with
BNI.
Giver's Gain
Yeah,
and
exactly.
BNI. So
Exactly.
it's a good fit.
So my favorite question here is we've talked a little bit about, jobs and stuff like that, but something no one knows about you. A couple people watching may not have met you yet.
Yeah.
So what do we not know about you?
Well, there's probably a few things
That
nowadays.
you would be willing to tell.
You can Google and you can find out anything about
Yes,
anybody.
that is true.
So I'll leave that to all you. But I think the thing that I'm most proud of that was a little bit of a past life. It's probably been almost 15 years now. But when I lived in the Bay Area, I used to do a lot of cycling. and I found some charitable causes to cycle for.
Mm.
So over the course of maybe 5 years or so, I probably put about 10,000 miles on my bicycle, cycling all over
Oh,
the United States, including Alaska, and raised about $25,000 for charity.
oh, very nice.
Yeah.
Okay. You still ride today?
I just set my bike back up on a trainer, and I'm looking forward to the not so cold days when I can be out on the trails. Anderson Point is a great starting point to just do some,
Oh, yeah.
you know, rolling hills, easy cycling. It's beautiful. Yeah, out of traffic. Love it.
And I would imagine in growing up in Germany, a lot of cycling there just to get around,
That's
right?
true. Yeah, it's really more of a means of
Oh, yeah.
transportation rather
Yeah.
than a sport. I never considered it a sport when I lived there. It was just a way to get around.
And what kind of bikes did you have back then growing up?
Oh goodness. I had, just some big heavy bike, and I remember in high school it came to me used, and so I wanted to personalize it. And nowadays you can buy decals and all that,
Mm.
but I just used all the different paint cans that I could find in the house and basically striped it, and it had all different colors all over. Yeah,
And
it was
everybody knew it
easy.
was your
It
bike,
was
right?
easy to pick. Yes, you
They
you would always knew it was my bike.
they could
That's
see it
right.
coming from a block away.
Pretty much, it was pretty bright.
Alright, so we talked about, earlier, literally how you first found out about BNI. So
Mhm.
who did you know in RD23? How did it come about to where you joined that chapter?
Yeah, it's a great question. I knew a few people just over the length of years of
Mhm,
networking. Samantha Chabot with Heartland.
mhm.
We had a Carborough connection from years ago. John Devlin and he's with Blue Ribbon Construction, incredible resource for my clients.
Yes.
We actually attended a Sandler sales training together for 2 or 3 days. I'm sure there's others in the group that I
Mhm.
knew prior. It now feels that I know everybody
Oh,
because
yeah.
I've been there for a while. But yeah, some of those friendships and relationships definitely went back a few years.
Yeah, and we had, Curtis Webster's been on the show.
Yeah, great.
I'm trying to get, Brian on the show to talk about Red Sox, Patriots, and Bruins, but we have a couple legal hoops to jump through with Ameriprise, but I'm working hard on for
That's
that, so
great.
but it is a good group.
Yeah.
They're quickly growing. You guys are almost to 30 if you're not there already. I
Yeah,
mean,
we had a great turnout of visitors last week, and I think we have 2 or 3 new applications coming in. So we still have room. Love to have, a floor in there. So if you are with a flooring company, love to have you come visit us.
yeah, yeah, that room is, getting a little tight, right?
Yeah, we might. Our president has his work cut out for him. I think Patrick needs to start looking for a bigger space
There
for
you
us,
go.
but we love where we are.
So once you and I always like to ask people the first B&I meeting you ever visited, any expectations going in?
I had been to other networking events,
Yeah.
slightly different formats. There's, of course, lots of choices here in the area. And so I think what really stood out to me with BNI is that it was a great mix of personal connections and real people having a good time. It wasn't, stiff or cold or very formal. You could tell people really liked each other. They liked doing business with each other, but it also had a professional side to it. People were certainly interested in passing business to each other and truly helping each other's business grow. It wasn't a social hour. It was a good
Mhm.
mix of both.
So when you left that first meeting, still just visiting,
Hmm.
what were your thoughts? What were you both your thoughts about BNI, which you talked about, but just business-wise, "Okay,
Sure.
do I wanna apply this to me being a
Yeah.
realtor?"
So it really, to me, it was a no brainer.
Mm,
I think you're only as strong as the team behind you. Nobody in real estate can do what we need to do to abide by all the rules and regulations on our own. And we cannot serve our clients. I cannot serve my clients without having great people that I can rely on. So the ability to help others grow their business. And of
mm,
course, in real estate, we have a long line of services that we need to help our clients have the really best experience. So I couldn't do it without an incredible lender. Shout out to Michael Martin here with Fairway Mortgage. He's saved quite a few of my clients along the way. We couldn't do it with great insurance. We couldn't do it with a great closing attorney. Michelle Calloway with
mm.
Adams and Howell has we haven't had a single delayed closing. Those
Yep.
are all the little steps that matter. So at the end of the day, the client can say, you know what, this was way easier than I thought. I thought this was going to be stressful, and Ricci made it really easy. So
One of the common themes we have with the people that have come through the show is not only is BNI growing their business for them, but they're the hero to their clients because
oh,
they go,
absolutely.
"Ricky, it could be something just out of the blue, like, Ricky, I need a carpet cleaner. Do you know anybody?" Boom, you know?
And I think the important thing to remember, it goes beyond just your clients. Yes, I helped 35 families last year buy and sell homes, and they all needed certain services.
Mm,
But our sphere goes way beyond there. People now approach me from other social circles and say, Ricky, I'm looking for a dog trainer. I know you know people. Who do you know? I'm
mm,
looking for a great CPA. This is the time of year, right?
mhm,
Gwen Riley just joined our group. She's a fantastic CPA. She's doing my books. And when I can trust someone to take care of people that I care about, that is the heart and soul of my business.
mm.
We're not very transactional at Hunter Rowe. We work only by referral. So for someone to come to the finish line of selling or buying a home or both, oftentimes, it's not where the relationship ends. That's where we're just getting started. So for them to go out into their sphere with their coworkers, their neighbors, their friends, and to say, hey, you're thinking about buying or selling a home. Let me get you in touch with Ricci. She'll take great
Mm.
care of you. That
Yeah.
that's all of it leads up to that.
And going one step further in your world, you're kind of a one and done with some clients. They buy a house from you. You may not hear back from them for 5, 6, 7, 8 years, depending on what's going on in their life. So how do you stay in touch with them so you continue to be a resource for them?
Sure. That's a really great question. I think it's a big differentiator for Hunter Rowe. The founder of Hunter Rowe, Mike Regan, he comes from a process improvement background. And really the idea is, yeah, real estate has been done a certain way all over the country for many years. And when you drive up to our Raleigh office, some people are surprised. They will see Hunter Rowe real estate agents and advisors, but they will also see Hunter Rowe R&D, research and development. So we dedicate time and resources to really digging into the industry and what's happening in the market and what do we need to do to be a step ahead for our clients, but to also create a great balance for our agents, to allow us to serve our clients appropriately. And so that, I think, really makes a difference in how I can dedicate my time. See, to have the ability to go to Germany for 2 weeks, I'm not going to be able to
Yeah.
show a house during that time. I'm not going to be able to attend an inspection appointment, but I've got a whole army of fully licensed realtors at my fingertips that I can say, hey, can you jump in and help my client? So that's incredible. Business doesn't stop if I choose to be out of town. Now, when it comes to serving clients and the ability to really wrap everything together, it all comes back to that. It
Mm,
comes to working by referral. And your question was, how do you manage to stay in touch? Well, that is really, I think, the key, that you can free up time by having other people help in with some of the more transactional things, that require, they are very necessary to make a real estate transaction successful. It's very necessary that you keep an eye on all the timelines
mm,
and, keep all the vendors uh, in the loop. Make sure you constantly reach out to the lender if you're working, with a buyer, to constantly reach out to the other agent. Those are all important parts. Um, but it allows me to step back and do something like this and really meet new people and build
mm,
relationships and spend time. I spend time sometimes, an entire morning just driving around the triangle and delivering small little surprises to my clients, really just to have a face-to-face interaction.
mm,
Say, hey, you've done some decorating. Can I, let me see.
yeah.
I love to see what people do with their homes. And, especially when they're families, you kind of see the kids growing up and you see the family expand. And it's really an honor to be a part of that and to stay in touch.
Mm.
So um, my clients are clients for life. I tell them, they're like,
Yeah.
once you work with me, you're kind of stuck with me. So
In a good way, right?
yes.
So we are here with Ricci Treffer, realtor, broker, and advisor for Hunter Row Real Estate. If you want to know more about Triangle BNI, you can go to trianglebni.com, learn about where the chapters are, go visit a chapter. That's all we really ask you to do. just go visit a chapter, see what it's like. As you've heard each week on the show here, it's a combination of business and friends, and you want to do both because that's who you refer is people you trust. And in my mind, there's no better way to refer somebody is to say, well, that's who I use, right? So now we've heard a little bit about Ricci's life here. Let's talk about some of the difficulties she's had in growing up and some of the trials and tribulations that many of us have not had to deal with. And
Yeah.
let's talk about Hawaii, life in Hawaii, okay?
It's such a great day to talk about
It
Hawaii,
is, isn't it?
what is it freezing yet? Was it
It
below zero last night?
I
I
think it
think I had
was,
a little bit
yes.
of frost on the
I
windshield this
noticed this
morning.
morning when I went out too,
Oh,
yeah.
goodness.
Yep,
So, yeah, it's a lovely day to think of rainbows and
yep.
70 degrees and sunny
Okay.
and warm waters to swim in. And it's whale season right now. So if y'all don't know, the whales travel all the way from Alaska, the Pacific humpback whales, and they come to Hawaii to breed and to give birth.
Okay.
So this is the time of year, January, February, March is peak whale season. Whether you're out just on the beach or whether you're, some of us here in the area do stand-up pedal boarding. Those are the surfboards that you stand up on. Looks super easy, not as easy as it looks. But you could be out in the ocean on the morning before you start your workday, which is what I used to do. Great way to start the day. And you just go along and there's, a green sea turtle swimming by, or out in the distance, you see a whale breach. It's a pretty special place.
You're making this setup hard for me to say how difficult your life has been, but we'll continue down this path. So you're the first person on the show with a degree from the University of Hawaii, Maui College. So why there? First of all, what got you to Hawaii? Because we know, hey, you got to San Francisco.
Yeah.
How'd you get to Hawaii?
So same thing. Partner I was with at the time, we had an opportunity to live there. And I stopped making plans because when I moved to California, the original idea was let's go for a year. And then that turned into 5 or 6. And when we moved to Maui, the plan was to stay there for 6 months. And so 10 years later, when I moved to North Carolina, I said, I think I'm just going to stay here and not make plans. But so, yeah, it was an incredible opportunity. It's, one of the few indigenous cultures that we have left in active indigenous cultures. And it was very humbling to be invited to experience some of that and to become a part of it. So that I totally lost track of your original
That's okay.
question,
No,
Mike.
what
but,
got you to Hawaii? We'll get to that.
That was that. And,
Okay.
and yeah, great place to live.
All right. So we talked earlier that real estate is many, and it's funny to hear people talk about other industries because you always like to make decisions. We like to spend other people's money. We like to do that. And here it is, 2019. The market is good. The economy is good. And there are more people getting their license today just because they think, put a sign in the yard, sell a house, make $2,000, $3,000 a month, whatever it is. It's not quite that easy. It's relationship building. It's people. You're a people person, obviously. And so some of the jobs you've had a wonderful combination of being in front of people and also selling, which you swore, I think, vowed never to go into, right?
Yeah.
You were with Marriott International. You were an event manager. So we're going to help me with the timeline here, but I think I got it right. So you were an event manager in, how do you say, Wailea?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, right.
You got it.
So how difficult was that managing events for Marriott in Hawaii at such a young age?
Thank you for that. I appreciate that. Not quite so young.
My story.
I think if anyone who's ever been in the food and beverage or hospitality industry, it's almost like magic, right? Because you're providing this experience for people. And for many reasons, it's called the front of the house.
Yeah.
And then you have the back of the house, which is where all the hard work happens. That is a hard working industry. You're on your feet a lot. You work crazy hours. You don't spend a lot of time with your family. You work nights, you work weekends, because that's when everybody else wants to come out and enjoy it, right? So I loved it. I loved my introduction to the hospitality industry. The event background came actually from doing these cycling events in the Bay Area. I volunteered a lot, actually spent some time working in a nonprofit field there, which was extremely rewarding. Not financially rewarding, but rewarding from different parts. And so that led into, being prepared for the event manager role in Marriott. And it was during that time that someone approached me and said, you know what, Ricci, you ought to check out the sales division that Marriott had. And I looked at them and I said, absolutely not. I'm a corporate person. I've always been doing corporate things, and the sales division, when you look at resort real estate sales, it's commonly referred to as timeshare. And it's kind of like, insurance and used car sales does not have the greatest reputation, and real estate too. So I was not even close to accepting that. I said, absolutely not. I thought I would have to stand on one of the little front streets with a bird on my shoulder, trying to get people to come to these timeshare presentations. I said, no, thank you. But of course, Marriott's a very reputable company. And I was too tempted not to look at the opportunity. It's fully licensed. You need to be fully licensed to do that. It's deeded real estate that is being sold. And the biggest lesson for me, I think, learned was that sales are all the things that I love to do. And I didn't know that. Sales is about people. Sales is about relationships. Sales is about really listening and understanding someone's needs and finding solutions. And I love finding solutions. I like to fix things. So to be able to help people with a product that meets their needs was incredibly rewarding, but also learning the lesson that no, we cannot help everyone. Not every client is a great fit. And the product is not a great fit for every client. It's the same with homes. It's the same with recruiting. Doesn't make anybody bad or, it's just sometimes it's not a fit. And so learning that was really a great lesson, and I think prepared me to serve my clients better.
How long were you in that sales job before that light clicked on? You went, I think this could work.
4 weeks.
Wait, this is something you didn't want to do. Okay, 4
Yes,
weeks.
I know, right. Yeah, there were some people that kept reminding me of how little I wanted to do that 10 years later. And what I find now, we always have great discussions on what makes us unique as individuals, because of course there's lots of realtors and there's lots of great realtors, but what makes you who you are? And what I found is the things that I'm truly passionate about have all been reflected in previous careers to a certain degree. I love fighting for people. I love being an advocate. So when I got to do nonprofit work, that was, very much the primary purpose. And so to be able to protect clients and families from what could be a very stressful experience. Buying or selling a house is very personal. It's very emotional.
Sure.
So to be able to be that buffer is very gratifying, and I really enjoy that. And then the second part is, of course, I've always loved business. I like understanding business transactions, and I love negotiating. So negotiating also sometimes comes with a very negative connotation.
Oh, sure.
And I don't look at it that way. It's not a courtroom. It's not a fight. It's about making sure everybody gets to the closing table and feels that they had a really good experience and they feel that it was fair. And so building those collaborative relationships with other agents in the triangle, it's a very small community here. And I don't think you make it very far if you're, very abrasive or treated like a courtroom. It doesn't have to be like that.
Right. So on the business side, were there family members that as you were growing up, a family-owned business or something like that just kind of planted some seeds early
Not
on?
at all.
So,
Not at all.
okay, so then let me go back to the negotiating part. Having raised 2 boys and have some nieces and nephews, is that where you really learned your negotiating as a child to figure out, let me see if I can get my way?
I'm not really sure. It's maybe. I should ask my mom and dad
Okay.
about that, I think. But, I didn't want to forget about that third element. I talked about advocating. I talked about negotiating. But the third part, and I think ties it all back together beautifully again with BNI, is connecting people. It's something I've always done naturally. I love entertaining. I love bringing people together and hearing people's stories. We all just get this little sliver of life experience. And I've been fortunate to have, great experiences. But to hear about other people's life experience, and I love that you're doing that in the show, because it really allows us a little peek into the rest of the world and how other people's lives are. And I find it fascinating. So connecting people with people that they might just enjoy getting to know, or connecting people with services and vendors that might be really beneficial for them. We all get so busy. So to have someone say, like you said, this is someone I use. They do a great job. I completely trust them. Go ahead and reach out to them And actually, as a matter of fact, I'll give them your
Yeah.
information too, and they'll reach out to you.
Mm.
It just all fits together.
Well, I think we now know why it took you 4 weeks to realize you're pretty good at it. If I've got this right, presidential sales executive for over 9 years, consistently in the top 5 in sales. Top 1% in the US, did I read that right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, and this was all with Marriott
Yes.
at one location or everywhere in Hawaii?
So the majority was in Hawaii, and I
Okay.
did spend a summer in Newport Beach, Southern California,
Okay.
and that
Pretty good
was
place to hang out, right?
yes, wonderful,
And yet you're in
wonderful
the
location.
triangle now, right? You've
And
got
yet, and
water on both sides over there.
you know, I really this is home.
It's a
This
great
is home
place, yeah.
now. This is will always be my son's home. This is where he's
Mhm.
growing up, and we're not going anywhere. So
My home too, so I agree with you on
it's
that.
just
I love it here.
wonderful,
Yeah,
wonderful
because you
place to be.
get all 4 seasons.
And great people,
Yep.
and just lots to do.
Mhm. Oh, yeah, very
Really something to
outdoorsy.
do for
Yeah.
everybody.
Oh, yeah. No, I like it. So then you get to this is a subtle shift in change from Marriott to Rodan and Fields.
Right?
Okay, you don't normally see that transition in the world, but something obviously came up, something happened.
Yeah.
Usually a door opened somewhere. How'd you get there?
So it was part of the transition to North Carolina, and wanting to be able to spend a little bit more time with my son. I didn't want to be. It was a little bit of a sabbatical,
Okay.
where I just had an opportunity to really um, get to know the area, establish myself, and continue what I love doing is serving clients and representing a product or a company that I felt strongly about.
Yes.
And, and that was a great way to connect with a lot of people again here in the Triangle.
And there are similarities to Rodan and Fields and Hunter Rowe because you have a client and you have to ask a certain amount of questions to figure out what they really want. They may think they know,
Sure.
but once you start talking to them, it's like, oh no, you want
Yeah.
so. But those probably went hand in hand. Is learning how
Yeah.
to craft that skill, right?
Yeah. I think serving clients and meeting clients' needs there's a reason that there's uh, sales trainings that cross industries. It is not
Mm,
unique.
yeah,
There's, of course, certain things that are unique to real estate or unique to a certain industry, but how you build client relationships and build your reputation and your knowledge, that's universal, I
yeah.
believe.
Would you, knowing what you know now in residential real estate, would you rather have a client who's done no homework or a client that's done, been on Zillow and all these other sites and all that looking, come to you and said, "Here are the 3 we wanna look at."
So you're talking about a buyer
Yeah, a
client
buyer, yeah,
now.
yeah.
Sure. Okay. We find that people do have an idea of what they want, and some people are very specific and they know exactly. And usually it's a process of elimination, isn't it? It is,
Mm,
we know what we don't want. We've had this, we don't like this. We want to get away from this. So more people know what they don't want than what they really want. And we find that from our buyer clients, because we have so much opportunity now to do research ahead of time and all the online resources we have, the pictures, we didn't used to have that,
oh,
that on average, our buyer clients look at maybe 7 to 10 homes, physically look at those homes before they are ready to make an offer. Now, some clients, if they're more specific and they've already scoped out neighborhoods, they know exactly where they want to be, they might fall in love with the very first home that they see, and they're ready to make an offer then. And again, that comes back to the amount of research maybe and conversations they've had amongst themselves on what deal breakers are
yeah.
and what they're willing to compromise on.
And talking about the photography, I mean, who knew a year and a half ago the drone industry would be so crucial to the real estate industry,
Yeah.
right? Because
Yeah.
all these photographers now you have to get licensed to fly a drone,
Sure.
but
I
comes in
know.
handy because you can
Yeah.
show the footprint of the yard and
Yeah.
the neighborhood and everything, and I don't
Absolutely.
think people saw that coming,
Yeah.
so
It's ever changing. That
and you
is for
were
sure.
yep, and I think one of the things that I've learned in BNI, listening to realtors talk and mortgage people talk, is the people that get pre-approved, I don't know what the exact phrase is, but once you know what they're approved for and they know what they wanna spend, gotta make your life a little bit easier, right?
Certainly. I mean, it's a key factor for anybody. I don't think it's helpful for the client when you're just shooting in the dark
Yeah.
and you're shopping for homes and you might fall in love with a home that you can't really afford, or you don't want to put yourself under that much pressure for a mortgage payment. For a lot of people, it comes down to what they really want to spend monthly.
Mm.
And yeah, a lender, a great lender, and I've worked with many great ones here in the area, will really help a client look at the big picture and understand not just what can you afford, but also here are a few little dials that you can turn to position yourself better. So some people will come to me as a realtor and say, you know what? I'm not quite ready. I feel bad taking up your time. I'm probably not going to make a move until the summer or
Mm,
sometimes even
mm,
next year.
mm.
And I love working with folks because it allows me to build a relationship, to start educating them, to start empowering them. So they really feel that now I have the information that I need to make the right choices. When before you're just kind of operating in a vacuum and you don't even know where to start. It's overwhelming. You don't know which bills to pay off and
Yeah.
all those things. So to just have a team by your side that starts serving you from the minute that the thought enters your mind that, you know what, maybe. And you're
Mm.
not obligated to anything. It's just an opportunity to really educate yourself and start gathering some information.
I would imagine the you have two slashes on your name, realtor, broker, advisor, and I think sometimes counselor in the car or in the house, right? Probably have a couple stories of,
Absolutely.
negotiating skills come in handy, but just as a counselor
Absolutely.
between husband and wife, because we all know the joke is, I mean, you're gonna talk to the wife rather than the husband when you're talking about things, and I'm sure you've
Yeah.
had your fair share of couples counseling in the house, right?
Yeah, I tend to joke, that we charge separately for the marriage counseling. That happens sometimes, but there is something about really getting to know your clients,
Yes.
no matter who they are, whether they're single parents, whether they're a couple, whether they're first-time home buyers. I helped clients last year that had their family move to North Carolina from outer state, had their parents move here. Now they already had a family of 4 with 2 young children that said, "We love our home and we love our family, but we're not gonna be able to maintain the love for either if we're all gonna live in this home. We need to find a home that works, so we can, continue
Mm.
being happy as a family." And so they're really understanding what the motivation is and what the drivers are. I think you can't get to that without asking a lot of questions and without really listening
Yeah.
and understanding. And you're right. Oftentimes, we might ask one question to one of the spouses and then ask the other one, and they look at each other and they said, "Oh, I didn't know that's what you wanted." And you're like, "All right, well, great. We've made progress already." We start narrowing things down. So it helps.
Do you remember the first house you sold?
Yes, I do.
How'd that come about?
Um,
How did the lead or the referral come about, and how did the
wow.
transaction go in general?
Gosh, people are going to think that we totally talked about this ahead of time.
Which we didn't.
It was actually, I was a member of BNI.
Okay.
A different chapter at the time was a core group that is now an established, thriving chapter out of Cary. And one of the members, Ashley McGuire, Dr. Ashley, with Whole Family Chiropractic.
She's been a guest of the show, and she's my chiropractor, so
Terrific.
funny
She
how
is
this works.
amazing. Funny how that works. She was a member of the chapter, and we were doing a one-on-one. We were simply getting to know each other
Mhm.
and sharing life stories, kind of like what we did on the show here today, and really getting to know each other. And at the end of our one-on-one, I don't expect business from BNI members.
Mhm.
I don't think that's the spirit of BNI. But working by referral, I will certainly ask, do you have a realtor that you refer to? And if they do, we'll let that be because as long as they feel that there's someone that serves their clients, it's not our job to poach clients from other great agents in the area. So, but she said, "No, I don't." And I said, "You know what? I'd love it if you come across friends or family who are maybe thinking about buying or selling a home. If you could connect us, I would really appreciate that. And I, see if I can help them." She said, "Well, it's funny you mentioned that. My husband and I have actually been talking about purchasing a home, and I think we're
Yeah.
ready." So she was my very first home that I sold in 2018 in the Triangle
But that
area.
goes back to part of BNI is you just have to ask,
Mhm.
because that's nothing wrong with asking or just say, "Hey,
Right.
let me know if I can ever be of help to you."
Yeah.
But a lot of people would have left that without ever asking, and she might have been asked 2 weeks later by another
Yeah.
realtor she liked, and you just
And,
never know.
and I think if you asked her, I don't wanna speak for her, but I think, it does have to do with the relationship that you
Mhm.
build. I think if that one-on-one would have gone any other way and maybe we didn't click, we didn't connect, and that's, it happens. Not everybody likes everybody. It's okay. Um, I don't think she would have taken that next step. And if I remember correctly, she might have even mentioned it. She's like, I did want to kind of hear about who you are
Mhm.
first.
Which is fine,
But
yeah. Mm.
yeah, it's to this day, great client and lives in a fantastic neighborhood. Love
Oh,
her
she's
neighborhood, love her
wonderful.
family,
Oh, she's made
love her
my life.
husband. Yeah, great
Mm.
family.
Oh, if you need to go to a chiropractor, go to a chiropractor. It'll make your
Yeah,
life a whole lot easier.
she is great.
So one of the things we learn about BNI members and why we want people to go visit BNI chapters is not only will they help you with your business, you'll make friendships out of it. As Ricky's talked about, giving back to the community, being involved in nonprofits and everything. So you learn a lot of things about different people. And I understand from Little Birdie, you might be a John Bon Jovi fan as well. So
Yeah, yeah. So this goes back to connecting people. When sometime last year, John Bon Jovi was at PNC, and you know how it is with social media now. I just put a little blurb out there saying, "Hey, who wants to go?" Tickets weren't very expensive, and I loved it because it really brought people together from lots of different circles of my life. Mary came, Mary
mhm.
Stocks, of course, and I have a great social group here in the Triangle for single parents of the Triangle, and we organize lots of fun outings for the children. We do camping, we do go to marbles. We really build a nice network there. And so a lot of my friends from that group were there, and then also just parents, other parents from school, some folks from work, and we had dinner beforehand. And it's again just one of those opportunities where you get to know people, and you say these are all good people.
Mm.
If I know them, they're good people, and you all need to know each other.
Yeah.
So it's a fun way to introducing people to other great
And
people.
you just never know who's looking for what. At the right
Absolutely.
time, you meet somebody out, "Well, I've been
Absolutely.
looking for someone like you," and
Absolutely.
which
And,
is
following with Facebook connections
yeah.
afterwards, and people really now have the ability to talking to each other directly.
Another one of the things I like about BNI just teaches you to listen different. So now when you walk because before I joined BNI, I'd walk into an office and somebody's banging on their computer. I didn't know a computer repair person, so I'm not listening for that. I'm of no help. Now I got a computer repair person, so you just you listen different. And
Absolutely.
same type things with your friends. You're not selling them, you're just listening.
Right?
Oh, screaming about my garage door and
Yeah.
doesn't work, and I know somebody that can
Yeah.
help you with that too. So
Absolutely.
your goals within your BNI chapter for 2019 are
Um, so I think my personal goal is to give referrals to each member of the chapter,
bold. Yep.
which that is not always easy.
No.
But I think it does take effort, and it takes that listening ear. It takes deliberate effort to come back every week. And what we've started in our chapter is really whoever the next week's speaker is, we know the type of people that they want to meet.
Mhm.
So each member now is tasked with inviting at least one of those professionals so that the 10-minute speaker really gets the maximum exposure. When you have a larger group like ours, we don't get that spotlight that often. So to be able to really fill the room with people that will be beneficial for the speaker, that's, I think, one of the ways that we're hoping to accomplish that.
Okay. And if you wanna know if you or anybody you know is looking to buy or sell a house, you can get in touch with Ricky, 771-3014. Loved having you on the show, hearing your stories. First person born and raised in Germany and first person that had to spend time in Hawaii. We're glad you made it through that and came to the Triangle and are having such success here. But each week, folks, these are the type of success stories we bring you on Triangle BNI. You can meet people like Ricky, not only good in business, but giving back to the community, parents groups, all that kind of stuff like that. So that's those are the type of people in BNI. Go to trianglebni.com and it'll show you all the chapters that are in the area. You can also give us a call at 465-1667. You can talk to Steve or Mary or Brenda. They will help you. And we thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week on Triangle BNI.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section at nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel Follow us on Twitter and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by Telestream's Wirecast software, StreamingGear.com, Carolina Apparel, and DeltaForce.net.